So, some months back, probably even last year, I don't remember exactly, I did a video on why I bought a Sportster. So, some of the reasons I gave were very situational, and some people pointed that out. And the observant among some of you have pointed out that since some of those situational reasons I gave are no longer in effect, why do I still have the Sportster? And, you know, I think that question deserves an answer. But instead of telling you why I bought a Sportster, I would answer that question by telling you why you should buy a Sportster. Hello everyone, I'm Basil the Orville Biker. Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time watching with us today, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you get notifications of any videos I may put up in the future. It really supports the channel and I appreciate it a lot. So I think before we discuss the reasons why I think you should get a Sportster, I think we need to introduce the Sportster to begin with, because I didn't know what a Sportster was when I first encountered it, so I figured it's very likely, or a very good possibility, some of you may not know what the Sportster is either.
The Sportster is one of the most classic and iconic motorcycles Harley-Davidson has ever produced. It is the second longest produced motorcycle in the world behind the Royal Enfield Bullet. The Sportster is an air-cooled V-twin powered classic Harley cruiser that was manufactured from 1957 to 2022, and the Evo Sportster, perhaps one of the best motorcycles Harley-Davidson ever produced in my opinion, was the latest iteration of the Sportster line and the end of an era when the last one rolled off the production line on November 18th of 2022. Even though the number of new Sportsters is fast dwindling, the Sportster is just as ubiquitous in the used motorcycle marketplace as the KLR 650, the Honda Shadow, the Kawasaki Ninja, and many other common and venerable motorcycles. Now that the number of Sportsters in the world is a fixed number, it can only become more of a classic as time goes on. The Sportster is a classic, reliable, and infinitely customizable motorcycle, and I am here to tell you why you should buy a Sportster.
So as you can see, the Sportster has been around for quite a while. It's a very classic bike in looks, aesthetics, style, sound, and pretty much everything regarding cruisers and Harley-Davidson combined and in general. So when I went to the dealership in Missouri and first encountered the Sportster, they were very reminiscent of the Honda Rebel I was riding at the time. And I don't mean the older 250s, I mean like the newer 300s and 500s. It was a cruiser, but it had a sporty character to it. And so I test rode this bike, first time I ever rode a Sportster or a Harley, and I immediately fell in love with this bike. You absolutely feel like a king riding down the road on this bike. And so the first reason I would list is the bike has presence. I can't explain the presence of this bike, the way it makes you feel on the road, the way it sounds, the way the Sportster tends to make heads turn. I probably got more compliments on this bike than I have in any other thing in my life, total, in general. That's including my last motorcycle, and even anything not motorcycle related. And train tracks. There's always train tracks, every video. So yeah, the presence of a Sportster is just, whoa, what are you doing? Learn to drive, dude. The presence of the Sportster is just like any other bike I've ridden. I was hoping to get to that sentence sometime in the last century. So along with the presence of the motorcycle, it just has character. It's an heirloom bike. You can buy this bike and keep it for the rest of your life. It's a bike that you can hand down to your children if you wanted to. And there are actually lots and lots of Sportsters out there where people have actually done that. In fact, you can go on Facebook Marketplace and find Sportsters that are still running perfectly well from the 1980s, 1990s, even some earlier ones, but mainly the Evo Sportsters are what I'm talking about. That people have ridden, loved, and cared for over the last several decades of the life of this bike. But they always had that classic look, and it's probably the most Harley-Davidson of any Harley-Davidson motorcycle out there. A lot of people argue that the Sportster is probably the last true Harley-Davidson before they stopped making it in November of last year, which to me was a sad occurrence, but given EPA regulations and requirements and Harley-Davidson moving forward with the newer engines, liquid cooled and more modern designs, I guess I can understand why they did what they did. But it was the end of an era as far as motorcycles are concerned, and the number of Sportsters we have today are now a fixed and diminishing number. There will never be more Sportsters in the world than there are today unless someone decides to build one from scratch, which segues into the nice point quite well. These bikes are a blank canvas, and the aftermarket for these bikes is superb. You can build one of these bikes from scratch and never touch a Harley-Davidson part. Plus, you could take a Sportster and build literally any kind of bike you want out of it. Shade Tree Surgeons built a Dirtster out of a Sportster. You could turn them into touring bikes, you could turn them into off-road bikes, you could turn them into rocket ships, drag racing. I mean, you can make them a performance bike, even though they are by nature, by themselves, not a performance bike. They're not slow by any means. They're quick, I'll say that. Though they don't go very fast. That's a sport bike realm. If you want a torque monster, that's what a Sportster is for. But these are veritable blank canvases. I started with a stock bike, and this is what I have now, and I'm still working on it. You can create whatever your imagination dreams or desires for your motorcycle. If you like wrenching, if you like customizing your bike, if you like working on the bike for the purposes of making it your own, the Sportster is perhaps the most perfect bike for that purpose. But the other thing, the only real wrenching you have to do in these motorcycles is maintenance. As far as Harley-Davidson motorcycles are concerned, I find these to be some of the most reliable bikes they have ever made. And I'm speaking specifically to the Evo Sportsters. They made those from 1987 to 2022, and that gave them plenty of time to work out the kinks in the engine, whatever kinks there may have been. Now granted, they got some upgrades and modernizations over the years, such as going from a 4-speed to a 5-speed, rubber mounting the engine, making some changes to the engine design overall, up into the inclusion of electronic fuel injection on the motorcycle. These motorcycles are pretty much bulletproof. I have put 20,000 miles on this motorcycle and I've had no issues with the bike, other than maybe little bits and bobs here vibrating off the bike, which, you know, happens. Harleys vibrate. Harleys will be Harleys, things will vibrate, leaves and fall off. But that's just the nature of the beast. With that being said, pretty soon here I'll be doing a 20,000 mile review of the Sportster in all its quote-unquote glory for what it is. And that'll probably be the next video I put out after this one. But if you did have to work on the motorcycle, they are super easy to work on. I mean, the Evo engine is very agricultural, for lack of a better description, but also very simple. And the simplicity of the engine makes it very easy to work on. I could pretty much do most things on this motorcycle myself if I had the tools. In some cases, the tools are more expensive than just paying Dave to do it. Like I want to do a chain conversion, and paying him to do it's cheaper than getting the breaker bar, the socket for the front sprocket, the socket for the rear axle nut. Yeah, it's just be cheaper to pay him to do it. But other than that, I've done most of the other upgrades to this bike myself. It's a very agricultural, simple mechanical machine, and that's one of the things that makes them reliable. They don't have all the bells and whistles, thrills and frills added to the bike that will make it break down. Less things to break. Oh, that decel pop sounds so awesome. But those are the reasons I think you should get a Sportster. And maybe not a reason why you should get it, but something to consider is as time goes on, these motorcycles will get more classic, because as I mentioned before, there are a fixed number of these bikes in the world now. And as more people wreck the bikes, more of the bikes are scrapped. I mean, this will probably take decades for this to occur, but these bikes will get rare. Not as rare as like the iron heads and pan heads of yore, but over time they'll get rare. And the prices can only go up. I think Facebook Marketplace average for these motorcycles is about 3 to 5 grand, maybe 3,500 to 5 grand. And you can pick one up all day used for that price. Of course, you do have people on those places that list their bikes for an exorbitant amount. Like if I tried to sell my bike, there's no way I would get the money back for all the time, effort, parts, and upgrades I put into this motorcycle. So it's just, I'm never going to sell it. It's, as I said, it's an heirloom bike. It's going to be with me till the day I die, or until absolute necessity requires that I sell it. Why do I always get stuck behind the slow people on this road? You're doing 5 under the speed limit. Can't you go just a little bit faster? Oh my gosh, it's 45. Give me a passing zone, please. Yay! That was ridiculous. Anyways, as you can see, the Sportster is plenty quick for what it is. You know, there are haters of the Sportsters out there, and you'll get that with just about any bike in any corner of the motorcycle community. There are Harley riders out there that call the Sportster a girl's bike. But I've been told by an old timer that once upon a time, only the hardcore riders rode a Sportster. It's a bike that was meant to be ridden, and those who own their Sportsters actually ride them. They're not garage queens and trophy pieces. They're a very utilitarian agricultural tool for the road. And that just, I like things that are purpose built. I love this bike. Alright, let's see if I can get on the highway without dying into the sun. The goggles, they do nothing. Oh, I could have gone. Oh well. Why is there a light? That does not bode well for the future. But anyways, I think I rambled on enough about one of my favorite motorcycles. If you agree with me, go ahead and comment below. If you disagree with me, also comment below and tell me why you disagree. I welcome both sides of the opinion and the discussion. If you have a bike you'd like to give the reasons why you would recommend it, I'd be happy to hear it. I am looking towards the future for a second motorcycle, and maybe you can help me decide what that motorcycle will be. But I'm going to go ahead and finish this ride, head back home, have some tacos. Yes, I said it, tacos. So you guys keep your 2 wheels on the ground, shiny side up, ride safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Oh, I can't get that song out of my head now.